was uneasy enough about that process to where I just got a little bit upset and with that process, stepped back and prayed that I'd be able just to be present and let the chips fall. And the visit turned out to be not what I expected. There were longer periods of quiet, but enough good happened, enough experience in the present of being with those people that I felt glimmerings of the appropriateness of that kind of stance, that time was involved. Whenever I would go to the past, our history together, or some sort of ideas about the future, how it might be, how I might be as a granddad, or how they might be as grandkids, just be with them. It was really quite refreshing, and there were some really bright moments of love, and it was just very gratifying.
I've been in a situation where my life as it existed before doesn't seem possible, and the future is so unclear that I've been forced to just get up and show up in a long-term care facility, which initially just seemed like an assault to my senses, and just be there. And I've been witness to just being led through a day, each day, and aware of so much love and care and support. And it's just something I've never experienced before. Surrendering to what's possible in the moment, rather than grieving about what doesn't exist, or trying to plan or worry about the future.
In other words, you're not using the present moment to secure a safe future. You're not using the present moment to defend yourself against a negative future, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And you're not trying to control the moment you're in.
I don't know how.
Exactly. And you are finding a way to be this way gracefully, relatively speaking.
By the grace of God.
Exactly. Yes, you see, the reason for abandoning control, which is what hesitation is to allow yourself to have the experience of grace until you get off the pedestal, until you get off the speaker's platform where you're in charge. You can't find out that God is already in charge, and that by grace you are loved and your needs are met, not necessarily in the way you would plan them out, but in ways that you can't take credit for, and therefore the fact that care is occurring that you aren't responsible for is a demonstrable, or it's a demonstration that there is a God. It's very humiliating to let yourself into that place. But the humiliation of the ego uncovers the humility of you. And so it feels as though you have moved from being humiliated into an experience of humility. And humility is nourishing. Humility is fulfilling. Because until you have a demonstration in your experience of the fact that there is really a God, it's just theory. This is another reason for practicing hesitation, because it allows a shift of perception to occur, which isn't just a shift of ideas, but it's a shift of a way of being present. And part of the shift of the way of being present involves what you might call being more permeable. Less defended, more can get in. And what gets in is the experience or demonstration that there really is a God. And it's not up to you, and it never has been up to you. It never has been up to you. And that is an incredible relief. That no longer, or it ceases to suggest humiliation. It uncovers an experience of wholeness that you can grasp is permanent, if you won't try to take hold of the reins again. Hesitation is for the purpose of letting a shift of perception occur, which is what? A miracle. Thank you for sharing. Now, nobody has brought up this subject, but hesitating so that you might interrupt your habitual thought processes and your habitual perceptions, and so that you will be susceptible to the influx of revelation, is not a means by which you gain control over your world. It isn't a way by means of which you can make somebody be healed. And we need to be clear on this. You're doing it, and you're experiencing the influx of the Father's love that causes your perception of everything to change, so that this experience overflows you and gets spontaneously extended. This does put you in a position of being an agent for change, a facilitator, you might say, of change, but it doesn't put you in the position of being able to authorize the change to happen now or 10 minutes from now. You have to be willing to be the presence of love that doesn't have an ace up its sleeve. It's not a love that is extended if the one it's extended to will do such and such. You see, when the movement of love infills you and overflows you and thus gets extended, the furthest thing from your mind is control or manipulation. It's like you hear something funny and you laugh laughter escapes your lips and it reaches out and it touches everyone in the area. But the last thing you're thinking about is, what effect is my laughter going to have on everybody in the room? You're not saying, oh, my laughter is going to heal everyone. My laughter is going to change everyone. No, you're caught in the movement of joy. Now, if someone in the room is down in the dumps and they're not committed to their misery, they're likely to be blessed by your laughter, and it might just break the spell and change their day for them because they were so tickled at your unaffected, unself-conscious outburst of joy. There may be someone in the room who's miserable and quite committed to their misery. And your joy, released, will not touch them. In fact, they may say, make some remark, hey, cut the racket out back there. Got to get my work done. Cut out the laughing. You see, a response that matches in no way the feeling you're having. What do you do when you do hesitate and you do reach within to the Holy Spirit or the Father, and you wish to have the truth revealed, to know what the truth is, and it is revealed, and it does end up being spontaneously extended, and it is met with absolute resistance, perhaps even ugly resistance, unkind resistance. Well, if the extension of love that is extended out of love or from love to your brother or your sister is not met with receipt, and if the extension and receipt of it, we'll say, is what means you get to keep it, what do you do with that? It would appear that someone's commitment to their misery could keep you from being able to keep what you've given away. You understand what I mean? And here's where you have to be careful. Those who are committed to their misery are confused. But they're not just confused, they're confused, and their confusion is set into place with a linchpin. In other words, it is strongly secured. What you have to be careful of, first of all, their commitment to it is an addiction to it, an addiction to their misery. And you have to be careful that you don't become addicted to trying to overcome their addiction. This is very important. If they say no, it is not appropriate for you to persist in forcing, we'll say, the wonderful truth that you're knowing about them upon them. But it's very foolish for you to abandon the truth that has been revealed to you about them. Because your mind is going to be occupied by something from the voice for truth or the voice for fear. It's going to be occupied or filled with something from one of the two teachers. It's your function, it's the divine function of your being to be glorifying God, meaning recognizing God, because God has uncovered himself to you. That's your function. And so if you are met with firm resistance, you don't stop knowing the truth that's been revealed to you. But you do not inflict it upon one who is absolutely, steadfastly refusing to let it in. You back off. You disengage from the one-on-one resistance, and you persist in remembering, staying in touch with the shift of perception that the Father provided you about them. It's your job not to backslide and slip back into the historic definitions that you have had about that person. Well, the ego would say, yeah. And of course, the ego always has things to say about your spiritual advancement or real progress. And the ego says, yeah, they're keeping you from waking up. Wow. They're no friends of yours. You're right. It's not fair. You see. And invites you to move back into judgment. I've said before that those of you who are dreaming dreams are, for lack of better words, having a nap on a rolling hillside in the kingdom of heaven. Until you begin to stir, we do not disturb you. You want your dreams. But the moment the dreams begin to be uncomfortable and you begin to toss and turn and moan, and the indication is that you're on the verge of becoming conscious, we are right there in support of your decision to move out of your misery. Now, this is very important, and I'll tell you something. Those of you, and I'm not speaking of you specifically, but those of the brotherhood who are still sound asleep and deeply committed to their dreams are not keeping us from waking up. Have not kept us from waking up. And so, you keep the vision. You stay with the vision that has been revealed to you, that is the truth about your brother or your sister, even though they are absolutely refusing to let it in. And you gently leave them and turn toward those who are beginning to stir. Is this clear? You can, if you are not careful, quote, because you really want to wake up, unquote, become compulsively aggressive in terms of helping your brother or sister to wake up, especially if they are resisting it. Now you will have to listen to know whether to persist or not. But what I'm addressing is the tendency that is there for you to become one of the Christian soldiers marching on to war against that which is unreal. And that's not love, and that's not what it's about. Does anyone remember the distinction I shared with you between sin and sickness? Very simply, sickness is a misperception believed in that no one wants, that no one likes. Sin is a misperception believed in that for one reason or another one has made commitment to. They make commitment to it because they see it to be to their benefit. Poor me. Woe is me. They've learned that if they believe that and they profess it, it will attract helpers who will say, oh yes, woe is you. What can I do to help you? And so this person has a misperception of themselves, which is to their detriment, because it keeps their birthright of wholeness out of sight for them. They make commitment to it because they see a benefit in it. And they end up using others. And it becomes a lifestyle that they hold on to because they don't have to become self-responsible and a number of other reasons. So, sin is, you might say, the taking pleasure in ignorance because there is a benefit to it, and the frame of mind is used to take advantage of others, which is to the detriment of others. The correction of sin is different from the correction of sickness. Because in order for sin to be corrected, there is a process of education that must occur. The individual practicing it has to somehow be educated out of their misperception and their attraction to their misperception. So I bring this up because if you are dealing with someone committed to their misperception, that puts them to a disadvantage and everyone around them to a disadvantage, it is going to take, quote, more time and more persistence. And because their practice of sin has become an ethic in their life, a strong-willed way of behaving in life because the payoff to them is great. You, if you're going to present any different perspective to them, are going to be seen as an intruder, someone who wishes to violate a very definite preset configuration that they're holding on to that keeps their lives together. And so you're not going to be met with open arms, and you are going to be met with great resistance, and most likely unkind resistance, because their ego wants to get rid of the threat to its imagined stability. This is one of the situations in which, in most cases, it is necessary to step back. And you might say, love them from a distance. You must step back to the place where the true perception of them that the Father has provided you, that has uplifted you and overflowed you, it is important for you to step back to the place where that does not get covered up or distorted by their obtuse responses. And you continue to hold them in that perspective because it's the truth. And you are not about to abandon the experience of truth that you've had just because they are being unreasonable, obnoxious, and unkind to you. Now, I know everyone loves to have a pat answer that works in all situations. You've got to hesitate every moment and listen every moment, because there will be times when, if you're dealing with someone addicted to their misperceptions, will be times to speak up and to share what they normally would object to strenuously. And there are other times not to. There are times when you can fulfill your purpose of extending love, when the point will hit home. And there are times when it won't. And if you don't listen for the difference, you will end up becoming compulsive in your attempt to help this woe is me individual. And you end up becoming their servant. It might not be that you end up jumping when they say jump, but you end up being constantly miserable because you can't make any headway